And good evening, and good evening, and welcome to Indigo Worship Live. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here in our continuation of our quarantine studios. And I just want to thank you all so much for your support of the show, and particularly on our Wellness Wednesday. The reception for these sessions have been so tremendous, and we want to thank you so much for your support. As always, do me a favor, would you share this live today? Because we have none other than MONDY Dorsainvil was back with us. We're going to be talking about marriage again, but this time, crisis in your marriage. And if you're single watching this tonight, don't tune away because you'll definitely have some tools to put into your arsenal so to prepare you for marriage and help alleviate a lot of the conflicts that may potentially arise. So, as always, hey, do me a favor, like this page here on Indigo Worship Live Show, and also follow us on Instagram at Official Indigo Worship. So, as always, we've got some great announcements coming up, talking about the music conference, the virtual music conference called the Power Up Virtual Music Conference on April the 25th. And we'll give you some more information about that later on in the show. But for right now, I want to take this opportunity to welcome my special guest clinician, Monday Dorsainvil. Monday, thank you so much for being a part of the show again.
Good evening, Patrice, and thank you so much for having me again here on this platform.
Oh, it is such a blessing to have you here as usual. We had such a great reception with you being on the show last time, talking about just the pandemic and how has it been affecting marriages. And we kind of touched on during that show
Mhm.
about conflicts as well. And there were some things we're going to talk about and really kind of unpackage those elements as well. And also, we won't leave the people without some tips for resolution
Mhm.
as well. So, as always, I want to give you an opportunity to, I'm going to turn the show over to you, and I will definitely interject and watch out for any questions that people may have as well on the live feed. So, once again, thank you so much for being here and talking about conflicts in marriage.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for once again for allowing me to spend a few moments to talk with you. So I was thinking about this subject, Patrice, and I find myself in a dilemma because we all have done it. You in passing, you're in a hurry, and a couple, you witness that they're going through some things, or they one of them pull you to the side and quickly share something with you. But we tend to just want to give them this quick fix.
Mhm.
We'll say, just pray about it, or just pray more, and that your marriage will get better. And sometimes we'll say, but if you submit to the Lord, submit to God and let Him lead your marriage, and everything will be fine. And then sometimes I hear people say, well, if you find your soulmate,
Mm.
you will finally be happy. So we spend our lives looking for that soulmate.
Yeah.
Well, the truth of the matter is conflict is inevitable. So no matter where you are or what kind of relationship you are involved in, there will be some conflict. Um, and so it is imperative when we are giving those quick fix to people that we actually do take the time to understand what's really happening with them so that we can give them some solid foundation. And so it was interesting as I was reflecting on this topic. God brought me to Ephesians 4, verse 17 and 18, and I have never read it that way before until when I was researching for this. So it says in Ephesians 4, verse 17 and 18, I tell you this, um, and this is God talking here. God said, I tell you this, and insist on it, the Lord, that you must no longer live as the Gentiles do, and the futility of their thinking. They are darkened in their understanding and separated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them due to the hardening of their hearts. And so I ask God, so what does these verses really mean? Well, the Bible is saying, it's talking to the Gentiles now. It's saying they were futiles, right?
Hmm.
Not to have the mind of the Gentiles, because you are futile if you do. But why? What's wrong with that? Because they are incapable of producing any useful result. They are pointless.
Absolutely.
So God is saying they don't know me and they don't have their hearts and mind converted so that they are not operating in harmony with me. And
Now,
so I started thinking
so
about,
here's the question. So that comes with the fact that you must first have an understanding of exactly what marriage is supposed to be and who is the author of marriage.
of marriage. You
Yes.
have to begin there.
Yeah.
Because if you don't begin there, the next verse say they are darkened in their understanding and separated from the life of God because of what? Of the ignorance that is in them due to the hardening of their hearts.
Mm,
And so here's the first thing that I realized. God's purpose for marriage was never for you and I or for people when you get involved into a relationship to find your soulmate. And so if we begin on looking for our soulmate, the truth of the matter is we will never find it.
mm,
Because according to God, I mean, go back to creation. When Eve was created, the Bible said that and the two of them became what?
one flesh.
One flesh.
Mhm.
But the word that is used in the Bible, the Bible say, and Adam find what? A suitable mate. He find a helpmate. He never used, the Bible didn't use the word soulmate.
Yeah.
Adam find a helpmate. But why not soulmate? God is
Yes.
supposed to be our soulmate. You understand that? So if I'm
Clarification.
looking for my soulmate, I'm already starting on the wrong foot.
Oh,
God is supposed to be my soulmate. Because when God is my soulmate, then we can begin to understand this verse. I mean, Psalm 139, when David cried out to God, this is someone who's talking to his soulmate.
mhm.
He says, Lord, you have searched me and you know me. You know when I sit, you know when I rise, you perceive my thoughts, you discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all of my ways. Before a word is even ushered out of my mouth, Lord, you know it completely. You had me behind and before. And so David goes on and on and on, describing this intimacy with God. And then when you go to the last few verses, I love this, right? When you go to the beginning of this chapter, started by with David saying, Lord, you have searched me. And then it ends with David asking God again, search me,
Mm,
God,
mm.
and know my heart. But if you go just a little bit before that to realize David was talking about should not I have hatred for those who hate you. So it's like David is so in love with God, he's so filled with God, and all of a sudden he's feeling like I need to have hatred for those who hate God. And then he realized, wait a minute, God, please search me,
Yeah.
know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me and lead me in the way everlasting.
You know, you that just that scripture alone has put such an element of taking that false application of your spouse being your
Mhm,
soulmate,
mhm.
because those searching eyes, that knowing who I am, your soulmate can only know what you share,
Yeah.
but they cannot know the intent of
It,
the heart.
yes. 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 And
So right then and there, yeah, right then and there, when you talk about taking them, God as your soulmate, then we run the risk
mhm,
of making our spouse
mhm.
our God
Yes.
and making them an idol. And
Yes.
so when we do that, then we are,
We are heading for disaster.
oh, absolutely.
We are heading for disaster because
Absolutely.
what usually happens when we create this idol and we realize, wait a minute, here I am making this person an idol, but she's getting her way or he's getting his way. I'm not getting much out of this.
Yeah.
And you become resentful
Mm-hmm.
And then verse 18 in Ephesians 4:18, what does it say? They are darkened in their understanding and they are separated from the life of God because of what? Of the ignorance that is in them due to what? The hardening of their hearts. So marriages now started, oh, I love her so much. She's my idol. She's my God. To the point now, your heart is hardened
Mm,
in
mm,
her presence.
yeah.
You can deal with her. The little things that you used to enjoy now when she does it or when he does it, those things annoys the living life out of you,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So that's to me. I mean, I was flabbergasted when I read that, and I'm like, wow, this is deep. God wants us to remember that He has to be first and foremost. He needs to be our soulmate because if He searches us, He can reveal before our very eyes the things that we need help with. And then we can cry out to God and say, Lord, I understand I have problems in this area and that area. Please help me. Please guide me. So
Yeah.
that when you deal with God in that kind of intimacy, now you can turn around and face your partner in a different way. So the number one problem is the hardening of the hearts because we chose to make our partner our soulmate instead of our helpmate.
Absolutely. And what came to mind as you were just speaking was the fact that when we take the position of our spouse should be our idol, then we actually do them a greater disservice or injustice
Mm-hmm,
because we don't think of them as quote unquote a son or daughter of God,
mm-hmm,
whose heart we really should be responsible for intending that garden.
mm-hmm,
I know it's the reference of the scripture kind of makes you feel about a woman like in the Song of Solomon,
mm-hmm,
but the garden of the heart itself, going back to even to to a creation
mm-hmm.
mindset, the fact that we need to help cultivate each other's heart.
Yes.
We cannot form the other's heart, but we can water it.
Cultivate it.
And if you and
Yes.
you need to know if this is God's son and or daughter, husband, wife, whatever, then we go to the one who made them
Mm-hmm,
and ask them, how do you want me to treat your son?
mm-hmm,
How do you want me to treat your daughter?
mm-hmm.
And I think we now placed in a position where this is coming alongside. Now I'm a help me. I'm a help me
Yes.
in this journey with
Yes.
you. Go ahead.
Beautifully said. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we move from that to point number two, which is one of the second thing that I realize it's creating some major conflict in marriages,
Mhm.
and that is we come into the relationship with our own agenda. Um, I hate traveling for one reason, especially when the flights are canceled,
Mhm.
because I realize when the flights are canceled, you are at the mercy of that airlines, right? They don't care whether or not it's going to take 6 or 8 hours or 10 hours. They're not going to offer you better chairs. They're not going to offer you something to eat or something to drink. They just say, okay, guess what? You're going to be here for another 10 hours. Deal
Mhm.
with it. And
Mhm.
if there were two people, who's supposed to take care of everybody, guess what? It's only going to take the same two people who's going to take care of everybody. They don't care. Why? Because they have their own agenda.
Mhm.
Their agenda is, guess what? It's to make money, as much money as possible. And so when we come into our relationships, when we come with our own agenda, we are destroying that relationship.
Mm.
And here's the thing, unfortunately, we all have agendas.
Yes. Yes.
We all
Yeah.
come into the relationship, we were raised a certain way. We like to have things done a certain way, in the manner that we want. And if our agenda is not being met, we end up doing what? Hurting the other person.
Yeah.
So here's what I've seen in marriage. For example, when we get disappointed in our spouse, we stop seeing our spouse as a person with needs and feelings. Because at that moment, what we see our spouse as an obstacle,
Mm.
someone who's preventing us from being happy, right?
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, Patrice, um, your partner has needs as well. Your wife or your husband may be upset because you are working too many long hours, but they fail to understand, or he failed or she failed to understand that the reason why you're working longer hours is because, hey, we just bought a bigger house,
Mm,
we have more debt,
mm-hmm.
but she wants him to spend more time at home, or vice versa. She wants him to be more romantic when he's at home, but when he comes home, he's always angry and tired and just want to sit and watch TV and doesn't want to engage in doing anything, or even having conversations with her,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
She has her needs, he has his needs, and everybody is looking at their own particular agenda.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in this scenario, for example, what the husband is really saying is thinking, you know what I really need from my wife right now is some appreciation. But instead, what is she asking me? She wants me to spend more time at home, as if I don't want to be at home. She wants me to be more appreciative. She wants me to spend more time at home. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I'm busy. I'm doing that, So you come up with a list of reasons why you justify the reason why you do what you do. Again, holding on to your own agenda. So what's going on here? We become what they call laser focused on our own agenda. And when we do that, when we become laser focused, we start to do things we could never have imagined ourselves doing. And that is scary to me.
Mm.
Because let me tell you something. Sometimes people get into emotional and physical affairs and never believe in their life that they will end up doing something like that. Why? Because they've been so focused on how badly their spouse is treating them that they have no awareness of how badly they are treating their spouse.
Now, question, does that always have to be the case in terms of even poor treatment? Because you could have, like you said, that laser focus and
Mhm,
something else becomes disjointed and one person steps outside the marriage.
mhm.
So my question is then what's the real reason for the affair in the first place, be it emotional or physical? Because an affair doesn't necessarily have to be sexual. It also
Mhm,
can be an emotional affair, which
mhm,
can sometimes actually even be stronger than the physical.
mhm. And so the reason could be a number of things. The reason, again, we can go back to the first thing that we mentioned, hardening of the hearts.
Mm-hmm.
If my heart is hardened now, I'm not, listen, I don't really care about your feelings right now. I'm looking out for myself, me, myself, and I,
Yeah.
right? Survival of the fittest. There you go. All of a sudden,
Mm.
if for example, if there's power struggle going on where one partner always gets his way or she's always getting her way or whatever, guess what? I'm gonna start looking out for myself now.
Mm.
If there's fear involved in the relationship, because where there's fear, there's no love. Perfect love casts out what?
All fear.
All fear.
Yes.
And sometimes, I mean, you can sit there and marital counseling, and you're watching two people sitting in front of you, and you clearly can see one is afraid of the other,
Mm.
right? And
Mm.
so the one who's afraid, it's like the behavior and the way she's or he's acting. You're like, wow, there's no love going on here. There's fear going on. So there could be a number of reasons why you find yourself, you know, um, um, emotionally and physically attracted to someone else because there's something lacking in
Yes.
your relationship.
Yeah. Yes.
But again, that's the beauty about when you're a child of God. There's always hope. Awareness is the first step to recovery. You have to be aware to know what's happening in your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can begin to pray to God, just like David again. Begin to pray to God to help you see clearly. Pray that you will be able to see not just your wife, but your own shortcomings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's amazing how we are so quick. Like, listen, a husband can sit there and tell you everything that's wrong about his wife. And then you turn around and ask the same question and say, tell me everything that's wrong about you. Well,
Mm.
all of a sudden there's a silence,
Yes, crickets.
right? Right? So
Or vice versa, it's cricket, yes.
yeah, we all have our own shortcomings, and we need to bring that before God. And we have to learn to seek God, cry out to God. Because when we do that, this is where the recovery begins. This is that first step. And don't let yourself become a caricature of the way you're accusing your husband of being. This is so, so important,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So this is that. So now let's move on a little bit. You move from that to differences of opinion. Something as simple as opinions. Like, well, first of all, opinions, right? We all have difference of opinions, right?
Hmm.
You may like a certain type of fish, and I may prefer chicken. I may like a color, like the color purple. And you say, well, I like green or whatever. We all have them. But these are not conflicts. They are personal preferences.
Yeah.
Conflicts, though, conflicts arise in family relationship when two family members disagree on an issue and insist that their view is the best view, and nobody wants to budge, and they keep going at it. We're trying to go on vacation where I want to go here, but the husband said, well, you know what, I feel like I want to take my family to the mountains, disconnect from the world, disconnect from the internet, disconnect from everything else. I want to reconnect with nature. I want to
Hmm.
reconnect with my family. And he's thinking as a man, oh, this is the best thing ever. I'm going to spend time with my family, with my
Yes.
son, with my kids. And the wife is thinking, where are we going to use the bathroom, or where, what kind of shower am I going to get? And
Hmm.
she's
Hmm.
like, you know what, yeah, we can go on vacation, but anywhere but the mountains.
Yeah. Or wait, here's the other thing is, who's cooking? Because I cook at home. So, okay, I'm not trying to cook. I'm not trying to go on
Yes,
vacation and cook.
yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it's things like that, right? Differences like that, and before you know it, they are fighting each other.
Yeah.
It started about vacation. Now they are calling each other's name.
Mm.
They are hurting each other's feelings. They no longer wants to go on vacation now together. I mean, it's one thing lead to another, right?
Hmm.
This thing can blow out of proportion. So to me, it's interesting to see how couple handle their differences.
Now, added to that thing, I would also probably say when you have families that interfere in your relationship.
Mm, say more. Say more.
When
You have a mother-in-law, father-in-law.
yes, yeah,
Yes.
they
They
have
take
such a
time.
very strong input in terms of your relationship, and so that only adds mud to a very
Absolutely.
muddy situation already.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So again, so what do we do? Well, this is what usually happens. Some couples, well, one person will probably play the part of nagging. So they're gonna do whatever it takes to get their way and deal with the consequences. Some will just do what they wanted to do in the first place without asking their partner,
Hmm.
and then they can ask for forgiveness later. I grew up in relationships with my parents. I mean, I can look at it now and laugh. My father used to go out and buy a brand new car, knowing full well that my mom is not going to be happy about that spending. But he'll come home and say, I bought that for you.
Okay, yeah,
You know,
nice, yeah,
to
yeah,
just make it okay.
yeah.
So, we learn to play passive aggressive game with the
Mm, that's
yeah,
very dangerous.
yeah, yeah. Or sometimes we guilt trip the other partner so that they can say, fine, have it your way. And
The Bible calls something like that type of emotional manipulation, witchcraft.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The Bible look down upon it. And
Mhm.
so here we are in this conflict, and we don't ask for conflicts. They happen. They will happen in your life sooner or later, right?
Mhm.
So how do we deal with it? How
Mm.
do we respond? Well, again, it's almost like I'm going back in circle. If you remember how we started the conversation, if God is your soulmate,
Yes.
then you need to go before God and say, I think I messed up.
Mm.
I didn't respond the way that I should have.
Yeah.
Have have this self-awareness,
Mm.
and then be humble enough to come before your wife and say, "Do you have a moment? Can we speak?" And then she said, "I don't want to talk to you." It's okay. Don't have another fight.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes, couple will have another fight because one person wants to talk, the other person doesn't want to talk right now. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
She has the right to say, "I don't want to speak about this right now," or "I don't want to talk about it right now." But the key word is right now.
Mhm.
Because at some point we need to come together and see what can we do to make it better, right?
Mhm.
We are all humans, so eventually we're going to have conflicts, but we have to learn to think differently. That we have different feelings, we have preferences, we have opinions, we
Mm.
were raised different, and we have different sets of ideas. So when I remember those things, right, it's important to understand that even though we have conflict, me and my partner and I, we are a team.
Yes. Yes.
So if we are a team, we have to learn to compromise. If we are tired of fighting each other, then guess what? Let's look at an alternative. Compromise.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, you're always gonna have fight. Compromise can mean, listen, some people say, well, I'm always compromising. Well, if you are the only one compromising, well, guess what? It's not working either. Both of you have to become vulnerable. Both of you have to lose a little
Mhm.
and win a little so that both of you can live feeling like I win something, not she wins again, or he wins again, or he always wins, or he's always manipulating it so that he can get his way at the end. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you do that, because listen, at the end of the day, what are you trying to accomplish? We're trying to bring peace and harmony back into the relationship, right?
Yeah.
That's what's important.
A healthy and loving coexistence.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So when you compromise, you are looking for that win-win solution that's going to create this atmosphere of peace and harmony into the relationship. That's very, very important, right? So,
Is it important for us to give each other grace too? Because this is say
mhm,
you got married in your early 20s. Well, who you were in your early 20s is not who you're going to be in your early 30s.
yeah,
And who you are in your early 30s, you're not going to be in your 40s, if you're, still married at this point. And so giving each other room also to
to
grow,
grow,
maturity and
to
maturity.
grow.
Yes.
Yes, so important. And again, it goes back to the relationship with God. Isn't God doing the same thing with me, with you?
Mm-hmm.
He gives us greater light little bit at a time. And he also expects us little bit at a time to get better and better. He doesn't say on day one, as soon as you come to me, okay, you are saved now, perfect life. No, he knows you're gonna struggle, but he's gonna be with you. If you fall,
Mm-hmm.
he's not gonna point finger and say, "Look at you, you fell again." No, he's gonna come. And I love the story in the Bible because the very first story sets it up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Bible says when Adam and Eve sinned, they heard God's voice
Yes.
and they went away.
Mm-hmm.
And what did God do? He came looking for
Mm-hmm.
them, looking for them. I, I wonder what this world would look like if
Oh,
our spouses
wow.
fall. We will
Wow.
go after them,
Wow.
looking for them to bring them back onto ourselves.
Wow.
Instead of pointing finger or redirect or look what they have done. No, you go after them to bring them back into your heart again. It's a beautiful, beautiful image.
Yeah, we don't, but in our selfishness and in our, born in sin and shaped in iniquity and our disconnect from God,
Yeah.
it's once you first of all, once you disconnect from God, you're going based off of your own ideas. You said at the very beginning of this, as we opened this session, of your own ideas of what the relationship, you have your own agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And if your agenda, if you have not checked your agenda with God and God has not set your agenda,
Mm-hmm.
then what you're bringing is tainted water from a tainted well.
Yeah.
and you will never get anything sweet out of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when we look at how we are once again connecting with one another, looking at the fact that, wow, okay, this is your son, this is your daughter, which we said earlier, and how do we care for each other's heart when we come up with conflict, because once again we are in a sinful world and we're broken, but we can go back, as you
Mm-hmm.
said, go to God and ask
Mm-hmm.
him, look, search me and know
Yes.
my
And
heart.
oh my heart.
Oh,
Yes.
my heart, try me.
Yes.
And if you see anything within me, please take it out of me.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to go on our knees and say, please fix her.
Yep.
Please fix him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you don't fix him or fix her, then I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying, okay, with our marriage, what is the goal of the marriage?
Mm-hmm.
The goal of the marriage is not I got what I wanted or he got what he wanted. As much as how do we structure our marriages to glorify God?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the biggest,
Yeah.
biggest focus that we need to have reset when we think about spiritual in our marriages spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless we ask God, how do you want our marriage to glorify you?
Mm-hmm.
It will always come back
Mm-hmm.
to a selfish glorification, which
Yeah.
leads to nothing but disaster.
Correct. Correct. Because again, it's our own agenda. It's not God's agenda. God's agenda is going to be different than ours, but we're never going to know his agenda unless we, number one, make him our soulmate. I
Mhm,
need my wife to look at our relationship and to seek God's presence because God is her soulmate,
mhm,
not me. And vice versa for me. When we become God's soulmate, then we look at each other
mhm,
the way God sees us.
mhm.
And it's a beautiful image.
Yeah, and I'm wondering who, as those who may be watching may have questions. Please put them in the comment section because we'll definitely want to answer your questions while we're on tonight. And
Mhm,
if we don't have the opportunity to answer them tonight, we definitely will answer them in chat in the comments later on.
mhm.
But my question is, who has the courage to blow the whistle and say, "Hey, wait a minute, something's wrong with this picture"? To say, "Wait a minute, we need to stop and we need to just look at what are we doing to each other because really we're not each other's enemy. There
Yes,
is an enemy.
yes, yes.
And
We are each
how
other.
is he manipulating the atmosphere of our home, manipulating our emotions and making us see things that really aren't there, or we thought we heard something that was said that really was said in genuine, in genuineness. It gets flipped to, oh, what does he mean by that, or what does she mean by that, and it becomes antagonistic. And
Yeah,
so instead of seeing each other as each other's enemy and recognizing that there is an enemy
yes.
of our marriage,
Yes,
how do we really take the time to stop and just say, okay, well, something's wrong with this, because I know this is not what you and I wanted.
correct. And so it's a beautiful question. And the way I will answer it is this. When you are connected with God, God will show you.
Hmm.
Because I think one of the biggest thing that I've learned in my own relationship is that um, is this word called vulnerability. And I think I mentioned it last time on the program as well. Um, because when you become vulnerable, you are giving a gift to your spouse.
Hmm.
You are saying to your spouse the same way God did to us. It's beautiful how God created everything in 6 days and used power and he speaks and then he does all that with force and majestic and
Hmm.
God is this powerful God. And then on day seven, the Bible says he rested, right?
Hmm.
But when you try to understand the true meaning of the word, on the seventh day, God will relinquish all that power and put it in your hand. And now he says, now if you love me on that day, will you worship the creator God?
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
didn't force it on you.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say on the seventh day, you shall worship me, just like on day one, he created the heavens and the earth.
Yeah.
No, he didn't do that. On day seven, the Bible says he rested. And then when you go to Exodus 20, you read and it says, remember the seventh day to keep it holy. Sixth day you shall do all your, but the seventh day is, and then and it's almost like God is just trying to tell you very in a very gentle way, listen, will you come back to me on this day and worship me out of the goodness of your heart? Not because you're afraid of me, not because of my power, but because of the love that you have for me. That's what we need in a relationship with a
Yeah.
spouse.
Yeah.
One of us have to get to that level where we realize our marriage is in peril.
Mm. Mm.
And the best way we're going to win this back is by being vulnerable, not by being forceful, not by going to your wife and say, you better do what I say, you better love me, you better, you no, 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 no. Relinquish all that power. Teach her how to love you. Show her what love really look like.
Yeah.
All of the things that you're asking for her to do for you, do them unto her. Show her that deep connection that you're seeking. Give her what she doesn't have.
Mm.
And keep praying to your God and keep again when God is in the midst of it, it's a whole different dynamics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you're not by yourself now. You're
Yeah.
equipped. You got the Holy Spirit empowering you, giving you strength. And when you need a hug and your spouse is not giving you the hug, guess what? Your soulmate is hugging you.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Your soulmate is saying, it's okay, I got you. We got this together.
I love the illustration that you gave about the week of creation and just the power and, like you said, the majesticness of all of that, the speaking and bringing. But there's something that happens on the sixth day where God just stops and he makes, he didn't
Yes,
speak
yes,
Adam into existence.
yes.
He made him, he formed him, and then took a rib out of him and made Adam's helpmate.
Yeah.
And that care and tenderness you were talking about, that forcefulness of giving and showing love and compassion comes from the one who has already given you everything.
Yeah.
He prepared everything for you before he even made you. He didn't
Mhm,
say, okay, I'm going to make man first and then I'm going to do this, and the other. I made preparation for you
mhm.
so that when you arrive, oh, there's a word in this.
Whew.
When you arrive, everything has already been prepared for you.
Yes.
So on this seventh day of rest, this Sabbath of rest, when God he stops, there's no more creation to be done, but he himself carves out time
Hmm.
to spend time with you,
Hmm.
not in I need you to worship me
Hmm.
as much as it is the blessing of the fellowshipping,
Yes.
of you knowing who I
Yes.
am, you getting to know
That
me,
intimacy again.
the intimacy that comes
Yes.
with that. Absolutely. So I I wish that I'd had a conversation like this before I got married, because I would think it would have definitely smoothed out a lot of sharp curves that my husband and I had to navigate in our early years.
A-
That
and-
preparation,
mhm.
that 6 days of preparation, I'm now equating that to the work that we need to do, the
Prepare.
hard work, the speaking, the personal development, everything else that we need before we say I do.
Yes. Do you realize before you can drive, you have to pass an exam?
Sir.
Before you can get, right now I'm still waiting for my license to come. You
Mm,
have to pass an exam to say that you are competent in
mm,
that field. Doctors have to pass, they have to study for hours, I mean, years and years, and then pass an exam. Lawyers and so there are tests to take, there are exams to take. So
mm.
you can at least have a solid foundation so that you can do the work without causing harm.
But I've heard
Right?
this before. well, marriage is work, so we'll get married and then we'll work on it then.
No, no, no. You're supposed to be prepared. You mentioned that preparation, that
Yeah.
6 days of preparation. So it is a marriage. We're supposed to be preparing ourselves for our spouse. And this is the reason why when I talk to young people and I say, listen, I understand this is, you guys want to date and date. I say, there's nothing wrong with dating, but be careful if you are dating and you're sleeping around all the
Mm,
time.
hmm.
Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to create this habit, right? And then you're going to finally find someone you're going to say, okay, I'm going to settle with that one person. But all of these habits that you had before, now they're going to want to come back.
Yes.
Now you are married and you still have the same mentality
Hmm.
that you had prior to marriage. I say, no, as a young man, you're supposed to be preparing yourself for your spouse. Take care of your business. Take care of your finances. When you wake up in the morning, do your bed. Simple little things as just do your bed, right? Prepare yourself so that when that day comes, you can be prepared because it's going to come after the honeymoon. Guess what? There's
Mm.
going to be work now that
Yeah.
has to be done
Yeah.
between the two of you
Yeah.
to work it together.
Yeah.
You were working separately. Now you're gonna have to come together to work together, blend two different people to become one flesh, so that we can become not soulmate but helpmate.
Absolutely.
So I
I
can
love
be
that.
there for you when you need me.
I
Help
love
me,
that. I love that. That's a game changer from this soulmate to help me.
help me.
That's yeah.
Listen, I
Absolutely.
wish I knew that when I was 25, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm, hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Help
Yeah.
me. God
Yeah.
wants us to have help me. He's supposed to be our soulmate,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So So where were we? We were talking about, yes, problems, conflicts, right?
Hmm.
So now we can move from conflicts. One of the things that I've learned, and it's a simple little exercise that I encourage couples to do. And when I do it with my wife, it's always such an awakening. Go for walks.
Mm.
It doesn't cost anything. You just take your spouse and go for a little walk. If you don't want to walk around your neighborhood, take a drive and then go for a walk, okay? But go for a walk because what happened when you go for a walk, right? Walks release these feel good hormones
Mm.
in the body. And for us men, it's a wonderful thing. And even more than that, walks allow you, it ease you. Men don't really like when we are face to face. I don't know if you realize when men talk to each other, they talk to each other this way. One is sitting this here, one is sitting here. They don't even have to face each other, but they can carry on with conversation.
Hmm.
Women, they talk face to face. Men, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
So when your husband or your spouse, you're working together with your spouse, shoulder to shoulder, it separates, it helps the man because we're not having eye contact to be more relaxed and to be able to share things with you that maybe he couldn't share if you were looking at each other face to face. It's amazing how that
Mm.
psychology work, right?
Mm. Mm.
So go for that little
Yeah.
walk whenever you can because it gives you guys a chance to check in
Yeah.
with each other. How are things? Sometimes I ask my wife and she looks at me like, why you keep asking me that question? Sometimes you have to check in.
Yeah.
Babe, how are things?
Hmm.
You know, I may think, oh man, my marriage is great, everything is going well, but really it's not. So it's good to check in with each other, right?
Hmm.
So take that walk because when you take that walk, it also helps you to take out the trash,
Mm. Mm. I like that. That's awesome. That's
right?
awesome. Yes.
It helps you to take out the trash. Listen, there are times it's easier to have that conversation when we are walking in a public area because there's so many people around. We don't want to be those couples fighting each other in the streets, right? But we can say things. We can say, you know what, baby, I understand. The conversation is more at ease.
Mm.
So good, it's good for us to practice that. And when you practice talking that way, and then when you take it back home, the conversation now at home can be even deeper. But so much easier as well.
So here's a question. So, um, should there be, depending on the personality of the spouse, that may take offense easily, that kind of thing, to set sort of a ground rule for the walk? Like, let's make our walk a non-judgmental place, but a safe place where we can talk.
I'm glad you say that because there is a little exercise. I'm just gonna jump a little bit forward. It's called the Imago dialogue.
Repeat
The
that again.
Imago
It's
dialogue,
called what again?
Imago,
Okay, I'm not.
IMAGO, the
Okay.
Imago dialogue, right? And it was created by two brilliant people. I believe it was Harville Hendricks and Helen Kelly Hunt, right? PhD, brilliant minds, right? And they came up with this beautiful way of teaching us how to communicate with each other. Because the truth of the matter is, Patrice, you and I growing up, we learn how to communicate the way our parents communicate, the way our brothers communicate with us. But most of the time, it was more or less debating each other.
Hmm.
So we learn how to debate. And during a debate, you don't really care what the person is saying. You're preparing in your mind how you're going to respond
Hmm.
next so that you can do what? Win the arguments. But in marriage, there's no such thing. There's no more debate. What needs to happen is conversation. And so they developed this imago dialogue process where they challenge couples, number one, when you're going to have that conversation, remember earlier I was saying you need to ask permission. Is
Hmm.
this a good time to talk?
Hmm.
So the very first thing they say you need to do is you ask your spouse, is now a good time to talk about whatever, right? Why do you need to ask? Because each of us, we are in our own world.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm thinking about tomorrow's work. Maybe I'm thinking about, the mortgage that needs to be paid or tax season. It's here and I owe money to the IRS and whatever, right? So I may have 1,000 things in my mind, and here you're thinking, I'm just sitting here watching TV, so let's talk. No, we ask each other's permission. We value each other that much that I ask you for your permission. Is this a good time to talk? And your spouse now get to respond, yes, it is, or no, but can we talk at this and this time? You understand?
Yeah.
When you do that, it forces you to be present. Because if we're going to have a deep conversation, I don't want you on your phone. I don't want the TV on. You're watching TV while we're talking. I don't want you to be doing dishes. No, I want us to be present. And then the second
Hmm.
thing is they challenge couples to only use two phrases at a time as they talk, two sentences at a time. And let me tell you, it takes work.
I was gonna say, because women, we need to go down the laundry list, and then we'll may stop, pause, take a deep breath, and we're gonna continue down the list. And
Yes.
then when
And
you see that
usually
we're
what happened when you do that with your spouse? What does he remember?
the maybe the first sentence, if that.
Yes, maybe the first and the last.
Hmm.
There you
Hmm.
go.
Yeah, yeah.
So they say instead of saying everything at once, let's break it into small chunks, right? And then you say two sentences, and then your spouse now get to repeat what you just said. I mean, you remember playing that game when you whisper something in someone's ears and they whisper it and they whisper it and they whisper it, and by the time it gets to person number five,
It's not
it's
the same
something
thing as what you said
completely
for the first
different.
one. Yeah.
Well, guess what? It's just the two of us in the room. Hopefully, when I get to repeat back what my spouse said to me, it will be exactly what she said. But guess what? Because we're not so used to pay attention to when someone is speaking, sometimes even two sentences, it's hard to reconnect what that person just said. So
Hmm.
it's a skill that they literally what they are doing is teach you how to properly speak to each other, right? So you ask your partner, did I get it?
Mm,
By asking, like I say, they get to say what you just said.
yeah.
And then your partner asks, is there more about that? Remember, you only say two sentences. Of course, there's more. Then you give two more sentences.
But that's what the position that the spouse will say, is there more? And
Yes.
depending on the spouse, he'll be, well, two is enough. The two is enough. Well, I really don't want to know more. I'm just going to be real about it.
Yeah, usually when you ask, is there more, it's usually, is there more about the first two sentences that you say,
Mm, okay.
right? So the partner get to say, yeah, you came, you, let me give you an example, right? Let's practice this real quick. I'm upset because we were supposed to go out on a date and you came to work late and you offer no excuses why you're late. And I've been sitting here, or you've been sitting at home waiting for me for 2 hours, and you decided, you know what, maybe the date is not going to happen anymore. You started to put your clothes away, and then here I come, and I say, okay, let's go, let's go, let's go. How do you respond?
Boy,
What's the
bye. I'm just being honest. Boy, bye.
right? So that can create a fight.
Yeah.
But what if the spouse say, is this a good time to talk?
Mm. Ooh, you asking a lot, Monday.
Right?
Yeah.
Is this a good time to talk? So, Butch, is this a good time to talk?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Um, I'm sorry I'm late. Um, I meant to call, but because I was in a meeting and the meeting was really important, I couldn't walk away from the meeting to call you. Now you get to say exactly what I just said and then ask me, did I get it?
Okay. So the reason why you're late is because you were in a meeting and you did not have availability to call. That's why you're running late.
And then you ask me, is there more about that?
Oh, okay. I'll play along.
You're right.
No.
Yeah.
Is there more about that?
Yes. I understand that you were waiting and I'm really, really sorry that I messed up all night. You get to repeat what I say again.
Okay. So you're apologizing that you messed up our night. That's what you're saying.
Yes. Is there more about that?
Is there more about that?
Let me pretend for the sake of time and say, no, there's no more. The next step now is this: validate.
Mm,
Validate. Be clear. This is the part where you get to communicate to your partner that she has the right or he has the right to think and feel the way they do. So now, me, I have to say, I can understand why you are angry right now. And I'm really, really sorry. The fact that I could have called, but I for some reason I didn't remember the date, whatever the reason may be. But I do understand why you are angry with me, and I'm sorry. The next step is now for you to show empathy. No, you see how hard this is?
yeah, because I know my flesh. There's some things I want to say.
Yes,
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 but so now what I have to do is through this exercise, be intentional about honoring the health of our relationship,
yes.
but not adding kerosene onto something that doesn't even require all that.
Correct,
So
correct.
I need to understand, number one, you did come and you told me what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So by telling me what happened, I'm hearing you apologize for what happened, and to have that door of grace
Mm-hmm.
to accept that, and
Mm-hmm.
to still extend a welcome of the fact that you're home. I'm glad you're home. Maybe, we can't go out now, but maybe we'll just make the best of the evening that we have. So, and
Yeah, yeah,
because the ultimate thing is, and when it comes down to it, the ultimate thing that was really wanted was time,
yeah, yeah,
time with one another.
yeah. So
And,
now,
and even if you couldn't get time with one another, yeah.
correct. So during that time, we show empathy toward each other. And the next step, as we are showing empathy, I may just reach out and hold on to your hand,
Mm,
look at you, and once more apologize to you. That simple physical touch goes a long way. Without saying so much, just me holding on to your hands and saying, I will, I promise you it won't happen again, or I promise you I will make it up to you. We're going to schedule another date, right? And then you finish this by saying, is there anything I can do right now to make this better? You put yourself in the hand
mm.
of the person that you offended.
No, should I say that or should we be the one who came
I
who
say
like,
that. I
oh, okay, I
say
was going to say. Okay,
that.
yeah, okay, got it.
Right?
Got it. Yeah.
Right? So I say that. And maybe she can say, as a punishment, guess what? You get to go wash all the dishes or whatever. But again, what does this do? As simple as it is, it's a hard exercise. But
Yeah.
what does it do? It prevents the two of you to do this.
Yeah.
It allows me to say why I'm late. It allows you to share how angry you are. It allows me to hear how angry you are and validate your feelings and then reach out back to you with empathy. And then now we get into this physical intimacy when I can, and guess what? Sometimes it's not okay to reach out and touch. Maybe she is that angry to say, you know what, not right now, baby.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to touch me right now. And it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
She has the right. Again, it goes back to we have that right. We reserve the right to say, I want this right now, or I don't want this right now,
Mm-hmm.
without getting so confrontational with one another.
Okay.
So the Imago dialogue, like I say, it's a process and you have to follow it. You can't skip step one and go to step four. You have to do it step by step. But if you incorporate that into your fights, I promise you, it will eliminate all the shouting and all the
Mm-hmm.
banging of the doors and everything else that goes along with it.
Wow. Oh. So now, so we have that, sort of repeating what you heard
Hmm.
to make sure that the other understands what
Hmm.
the other person is saying in the relationship, and taking. We talked about having that walk.
Hmm.
What's another tool that we can add to our marriage kit?
Well, this one, I think we kind of mentioned it a little bit. It's it's important that we learn that even though there are awkward conversations or difficult conversations, we still have to have them. Some couples sometimes they refuse to face the truth or they refuse to have that real conversation. And this is again a place where you need to be vulnerable. But let me explain something about having that conversation. And the Bible, I'm going to use the Bible again as an illustration. The Bible says this in Proverbs 18, verse 2. The Bible says, fools find no pleasure in understanding,
Mm,
but delight in airing their own opinions. In other words,
wow.
all I care about is sharing my own opinions. I don't really care about what you're saying or what you're really saying to me or trying to understand your viewpoints. I just want to say what I want to say, share my own opinions. The Bible says you are a fool if you think that way,
Okay.
right? So it's important that we learn how to understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the verse that really did it for me. And Isaiah 118, one of my favorite verse. Isaiah 118, the Bible says, come, let us reason
Wow. Wow.
together.
Wow. Wow.
Notice this is a verse that's going to talk about my sins. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they shall be like wool. But before I even deal with your sin problem, this is God talking to us.
Yeah.
Before I even deal with our sin problem, come, let's have a conversation. Let's have a parley.
Yeah.
Let's have an understanding. A lot of times couples fail to listen and because they're not trying to understand what the other person is saying.
Hmm.
Listening implies that you are paying attention to what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I'm saying, it's vital before anything else. So you have to understand what I'm saying, what I'm saying, what I'm saying. Listening, as the Imago dialogue really portray, is an active process in which we make sense of, we access, we respond to what we heard. That's how I know if you're listening. So listening requires for you to pay attention. It requires for you to process what I'm saying, and requires for you to at least say back to me what I just said to you. So at least I know and you know we both heard each other.
Absolutely. Yes.
And this is what God did with us. God is saying, listen, you may not know who I am. You may not understand how deep is my love for you. So before you can give me your heart, before I can fix your sin problem, before I can do all of those things, let's have a conversation. And it dawned to me when I was reading the story of Job, that's exactly what God did. Job is going crazy, talking about everything that happens to him and he's questioning God. And all of a sudden, God is like, okay, Job, sit down. Let's have a conversation.
Hmm.
Let me tell you who I am. Let me tell you where I'm coming from so that you can understand why I allow those things to happen in your life. But then I'm going to show you I was not the one who did those things to you,
Mm-hmm.
it was the devil.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you when I step back
Yeah.
into your life what I do. And it just blow my mind. And that's what God is saying we need to do to each other. When
Mm.
we are in a relationship, you
Yeah.
want to understand one another, you have to practice good listening to
Mm.
make sense of what's being said.
And I love the fact that you said, that God was, wants to blow our minds. Um, just the fact that we are trying to and practicing the intentionality of using these tools that you're sharing, the fact that God can blow our minds with the fact that we're learning to listen to one another,
Mm,
that gives him glory.
mm,
The fact that we are giving each other room to, we make a mistake, but someone to come and apologize and accept the apology and extend that grace, that gives him glory.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And does not give an avenue or a doorway for the enemy to come in and use that, whatever that scenario is, to manipulate it and to cause the relationship just to really spiral out of control.
Hmm. Hmm. And then when we read the Bible and we realize how God deals with us, then who am I
Mm,
not to want to offer grace? Because I'm asking God to show me that kind of grace, to show me that kind of love. And God is turning around and say, now that you have experienced it,
hmm.
go and do likewise.
Wow, wow, wow. The
Go
scripture
to your
speaks.
helpmate and do likewise.
Yeah, well, where you're saying that just dropped in my heart. Like, while we were yet sinners, Christ died.
Yes,
The
yes.
ultimate sacrifice.
Ultimately,
While we were yet sinners, while we were yet turning our backs against him, and we wouldn't listen to him, he still came and died for us. And
he cried out and said, Father, forgive them,
yeah.
for they know not what they do. Could it be perhaps maybe I need that kind of grace, or my
Mm,
wife needs that kind of grace
hmm.
when she messed up?
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of attacking her, to cry out to God and say, Father, forgive her,
Mm,
and
wow,
vice versa.
wow.
Because
That's
again,
a
we need to look at each other as what? Helpmate.
yes.
We are there to help each other. When one falls, I want to put my hands around your waist and pick you back up and say, I got you.
Mm,
I got you. not walk away or point finger. No, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again,
That's,
I wish I knew these things when I was 25.
but you know what, but what we do have is those tools and that knowledge that we can now just incorporate by the grace of God. And this is not something that we can draw out of ourselves. We can only draw those capabilities to implement these things by the love and grace of Christ.
Yes, yes.
So, and we will only be able to continue to put them into practice every day,
Hmm.
even using these same skills in our interpersonal relationships with others, you know, other members of family and coworkers or whatever.
Hmm.
But the fact is, seeing number one, that going back to the beginning, that God is our soulmate.
Hmm.
Our spouses should never,
Yeah, so
I
but
don't care if it's you've been married 1 year or you've been married 50 years,
right.
our spouses should never be our soulmate, that they are our helpmeet,
Yeah.
and that God is our soulmate. Because when God is our soulmate, then we will now place the marriage in
And
his
this,
hands. We
yes,
place ourselves in his hands,
yes.
place our spouse in our hands, and then God says, I got you.
Hmm.
I got this
Perfect.
relationship. Your and my name is glorified through this.
Yeah.
Oh, Monday, this has been so amazing. We could just
Praise
keep
God.
going.
Praise God.
It has been such a blessing. And anyone here that has a question, oh, okay. I think uh, Mrs. Domain asked a question that you already said what it was, what the name of the method was that was used by the PhDs. Once again, can you say what it is again?
Oh, it's called the Imago Dialogue Process.
The Imago.
IMAGO. Imago Dialogue Process.
Absolutely. And do they have? I'm sure because they're PhDs, they have any books or
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's online. They have their exercises online. They have books that explain it. There's videos out there as well. I recommend it, highly recommend it. And if listen, if you're struggling, it's okay to seek a counselor, seek a therapist. Um, we are here to help. So whatever you need to do to continue to to help your family, to help your marriage to be strong, do it.
Yeah,
Do it.
absolutely. Absolutely. And just if anyone here is watching currently, that if you're in need of counseling services or you know someone, maybe you would like to just share uh, Monday's information, you can find him at Candor Consulting Firm.
All right.
We actually, if you go on Candor, Candor, consultingfirm.com, you will be able to see the list of therapists. There's an intake form, and you can also be in contact with him through that platform.
Mhm.
Uh, Monday, thank you so much for being here on the show tonight. We will come back again for another marriage section because guess what? Marriage is a process. So
Yes.
we will definitely have you back here as our sort of resident expert on the field of marriages. So thank you so much for being
I'm
here.
humbled. Thank you. Thank you for
All right,
having me.
everyone that's been joining us tonight, thank you so much for being here. And as promised, we have the virtual music conference that will be taking place on April the 25th, and that is the Power Up virtual music conference. And we've got an incredible host of speakers that will be coming doing master classes. Jackie Patillo, who is the president of the Gospel Music Association, as well as Fatima Burke, who will be doing a master class on graphics and marketing. We also have Dee Dee Tarrant, who is the director of marketing for the Christian Contemporary magazine, which is the premier Christian contemporary magazine in the country, and I dare say the world, who will also be doing a masterclass. We also have Colby Tyner, the vice president of programming for Radio One, will be doing a seminar and masterclass on podcasting. Wow. We've got so many more professionals that are coming to bring some powerful information for all our independent artists. So if you are an artist or you know one that needs to be a part of this conference, they can register right on shopindigo.com. That's shopindigo.com to register for that. And if you are an artist and you would like your music to be heard, and if you know someone that's an independent artist that needs this information, and we have some incredible Stellar Award, Grammy Award radio announcers that will be listening to music in our spin room. So They have up until April 14th to also submit their music for consideration. And who knows, their song may be featured on the radio. It's difficult to go on the radio. So we've got some top notch announcers that will be critiquing your music, giving some ideas, and potentially you may have your song aired on the radio. We promise that 100%. So anyway, thank you so much for being here on the show. Join us next week for another brand new Wellness Wednesday, and also this coming Monday for an all new Music Monday. And as always, Indigo Worship, hey, follow us, like this page here on Facebook at Indigo Worship Live Show, and on Instagram, on IG at Official Indigo Worship. And as always, I always tell you, it's not just a vibe here, baby. It's a whole mood. Have a good night.